Hello everyone, it's me, Aaron, Professor Thorgy, your guide to all things geeky, and this is normally where I would welcome you to another episode of Comic Class, the show every single week on this channel where we just geek out about comic books. However, we are not doing an episode of Comic Class today. We are actually holding off on until later this week, partly because there are all these rumors going around that tomorrow Disney might be making some big announcement that could affect the future of all of us comic book fans. But the other reason why we're holding off on Comic Class until later this week is because there might not be an internet later this week. Okay, that's a bit of an exaggeration, but yes, you can probably tell from that statement and from the title card of this video that today I want to come in here and talk to you guys about net neutrality. Yes, in case anybody out there has not yet heard, tomorrow the FCC is holding a vote on the future of net neutrality. Now, I can't possibly imagine, after everything that we have been through with net neutrality over the past couple of years, that anybody out there doesn't know what net neutrality is. But in case you still don't know, net neutrality is protections that were put in place to prevent internet providers from basically playing favorites with the sites on the internet. It says that every single site out there has to come at you at the exact same speed, and also you have to have access to every single website out there. Basically, if net neutrality was not in place, internet providers could then come in there and say, well, you can get all these channels, or you can just pay for the entertainment channels, and then you have access to Hulu and Netflix and YouTube, but you don't have access to these other channels. But if you want access to these other websites, well, then you can buy the information package that gives you access to all the news sites out there. Oh, do you use the internet for business? Well, then you can buy this to have access to your email account. And that is the best case scenario, because we've actually seen that happening in countries like Portugal, where they don't have net neutrality, where the internet does cost a lot more because you have to now buy all these separate packages. And the way that they try and sell this to you is that they tell you, oh, well, it's actually cheaper for you because then you only pay for the sites that you use. Is there anybody out there who only uses the internet for YouTube and Hulu and Netflix? Is there anybody out there who does not have an email account, who doesn't use Google, who doesn't use Wikipedia, who doesn't use the internet for both entertainment and your school or business work? We use the internet for everything. That's the point of the internet. And this would come in here and say, sure, you can still do that, but now you're going to end up paying a lot more to be able to have access to every single thing. In order to have what you have now, it's going to cost you a lot more. And that is still the best case scenario, because that's assuming that your internet provider would also let you have access to everything out there. Your internet provider would then be allowed to just block off certain websites that they disagree with. And I know that there are people out there who are going to say, well, a company wouldn't do that. They've been trying to do it for years. AT&T has actually gotten in trouble multiple times for attempting to limit access to channels, I don't know why I keep calling them channels, but to programs and websites that actually go against their version of those websites. Like, they've actually tried to limit access to Google, they tried to limit access to Skype because they have their own version of Skype that they want you to use. Yeah, think about how many times that you and all your friends get together on Skype and you all communicate. Imagine if you would now all have to sign up for 5 different versions of Skype, so that way you can all find one that each of your different internet providers actually allow you to link up with. Sorry if I'm getting so jumbled on this, but it's really just kind of upsetting and exhausting that we have to keep doing this. Every couple of years, this argument comes up and we have to go in there and fight it all over again. But that's the thing. They want you to get exhausted. They want you to get tired. It doesn't really drain them at all to have to keep bringing this up over and over and over again. We have to fight tooth and nail to keep them from wrecking the internet, the #1 source of entertainment, news, and very soon jobs in this country, every couple of years. And all they have to do is just go, yeah, maybe we'll vote on it again. And then all of a sudden, all these different organizations start flooding into Washington and start fighting over who does and does not get control of the internet, and it all goes straight into their pocket. And I hate to really get political on you in this, but yeah, a lot of this just comes down to money. A lot of it just comes down to them just going, you know what, if we put this up for discussion again, then all of a sudden a bunch of different companies will come to us and try and play favorites. It's really just upsetting that that's how this kind of stuff works out, and that they are playing with the internet, a thing that should be for everyone, and they keep doing it over and over again, but you can't get exhausted. You have to keep fighting. And I know that there are people out there who are going to say, well, I want to fight. I want to get up there. I want to make my voice heard. But I know that that won't really do anything. First off, as I said, we have had to fight this before, and it has done stuff. We have held it off before. We can keep holding it off by fighting. But also, I know that there are a lot of other YouTubers out there who are making very similar videos like this, and a lot of them have far more subscribers than I do, so they're able to reach a far wider audience. So there might be people thinking, well, why did you feel like you needed to make one of these as well? The reason why is because I come from a very unique background on this. I've talked about this before on this channel, but in case you guys don't know, my second job after I got out of college was I was working on a gubernatorial campaign. I will not say for what politician, because if I do that, then I will never be allowed to talk about it ever again. But I was working on a gubernatorial campaign, and my job was I was the guy who answered all the emails. I answered all the emails, I answered all the phone calls, I answered all the handwritten letters, I answered all the faxes. Anytime that a constituent tried to get in contact with our candidate and they said, hey, here's the thing that I'm concerned about, I don't like this thing you're doing, I was the one who had to respond to it. And I can tell you from firsthand experience, when a lot of people contact their representative about the same thing in a very short amount of time, they panic. I have seen this. I have seen candidates and politicians and representatives who did not normally care about a thing or were completely on one side of an issue, suddenly seeing an influx of messages, just a tidal wave of angry calls and emails coming in, and then they flipped that second and went, oh, I never said that. Oh, I'll go back and do this thing. Yeah, I mean, I was gonna do that all along. You didn't actually think that I wasn't gonna do that thing. Yeah, I've seen that this works. I know that it does. Don't just sit there and say, oh, well, I would like to help, but I know that won't actually do anything. Dude, that is how this stuff gets passed. It's not through corruption, it's through laziness. It's through people not willing to stand up and fight. This is the moment in which we have to stand up and fight. And I know that I'm making this video only a day before it all goes down, but in all honesty, getting everybody to make calls and send messages on the last day, it does kind of help. But also at the same time, I thought that this would have been a done issue at this point. But no, I myself underestimated how corrupt and sleazy the current heads of the FCC currently are. And the thing that shocks me the most about this is that almost no one is in favor of this. Everyone sees what a terrible idea this is, and it's stunning to me that in this day and age in which everything is up for debate, in which every single issue is got like a 50-50 split right down the middle of both sides going at each other, this is the one issue where everyone is united on this. Everyone thinks this is a terrible idea, and it's because everyone uses the internet for everything. The internet is not like, I don't know, a car that if you get rid of, now you can just take public transportation and, oh yeah, it's not as nice as having a car, but, well, you know, it still gets the job done. No, the internet is a completely separate beast that is unlike anything that this world has ever experienced before, and it is necessary to every single part of our lives. As I said, do you need it for business? You're gonna have to buy the business package. Do you need it for entertainment? You're gonna have to buy the entertainment package. I mean, just think about all the gamers out there. Do you play games online? Imagine if all of a sudden you had to buy 5 different packages so that way you could have the Capcom package, so that way you can play all of your Capcom fighting games online. You have to get the Blizzard package, so that way you can play Overwatch and World of Warcraft online. Every single thing out there suddenly has their own package, and you have to now pay extra for that. This is a very real possibility of how this could break down. It is insane to think about. And for anybody out there who is going to tell me, oh, this actually would be a good thing because this would lead to competition among the cable and internet providers. And competition always leads to a better product for the consumer out there. What mystical, magical fairy tale are you living in where you get to choose your internet provider? I have lived in so many different locations in my life. I have picked up and moved every couple of years to a brand new apartment in a brand new part of town or in a brand new state. I can count on one hand how many times in my life I have been in a situation in which it was like, oh, if I don't like this cable guy, I can switch to this cable guy? Oh, well that's kind of nice. No, the internet is not a series of tubes where if I go, you know what, I really don't like that I'm using this company, I'm gonna go over to this company, I just call up that company and they go, oh okay, we'll just flip the switch. Click, there you go. Now all that stuff that was coming through that one line, it's coming through us now. That's exactly how it works, right? That is not how it works. I live out in Brooklyn where everyone is using Optimum, and thankfully, compared to all the other internet providers I've had in my life, Optimum is probably one of the better ones. However, if all of a sudden we all decide, you know what, we don't like Optimum anymore. They've actually turned kind of corrupt after this whole net neutrality thing. But this company, we hear they're doing pretty good. We can't just say, oh, we want to switch over to that. I would have to get like 80% of all the people in my zip code to sign a petition saying we want to switch over to this other company. Not that we would all want to leave Optimum, we'd all want to agree on one company. And I got news for you, you're not going to get that many signatures from people in your neighborhood on anything. There could be a bill that's about to get passed that says, oh yeah, we're just going to set fire to every tree in your neighborhood. No real reason, we think it just might be cool. You would not be able to get 80% of the people in your neighborhood to sign a petition saying don't do that. And yet, we're supposed to all get that many people to agree on switching to one specific internet provider. And then what if that internet provider just doesn't want to move into our neighborhood? They just don't have the means to do it. Or it'd just be too much work for not enough money on their part. Yeah, it just doesn't happen. We would be stuck with that one internet provider, and that internet provider would know we're stuck. They know we could not change to anybody else because they're the only provider in our neighborhood, meaning they could charge us whatever they wanted because we would have nowhere to go. So what can you do? I know that it is late in the game. I know that many of you probably are going to hold off on watching this video until Friday, and at that point it's going to be too late. But for anybody out there who is watching this video today, while there is still time, go to battleforthenet.com. It's been there this entire time. You've probably been wondering what the heck this is about. Go to battleforthenet.com. You'll then be able to find your representatives who are against net neutrality, and it will give you ways to be able to get in contact with them. You can also use a service called ResistBot. ResistBot, you just text resist to 50409, and then it will get back in touch with you and it will say, hey, what's your zip code, what's your name? And then when you give them that information, they will say, okay, here are your representatives that we're going to get in contact with. What is the message you want us to send to them? You just text back the message you want to send, and then it will email that message to all of your representatives who are against net neutrality. Now, this is very important. I know that a lot of people are going to say, well, you know, it doesn't make a difference. There's so many times in my life in which I've heard people say, well, it doesn't make a difference, and then it does end up making a difference. As I said, I have seen this kind of stuff make a difference from my first person point of view, from my real life experiences. So yeah, don't be lazy on this one. Don't say, oh, well, other people are going to do it, so I don't need to. Get out there and do it. And even if the vote goes through, and even if the FCC decides to get rid of net neutrality, there's still ways of fighting back against it even after that passes. You can donate to the ACLU because trust me, they're going to be fighting for us a lot if this ends up going down. So I'm gonna put links to all the stuff that I talked about down below. But yeah, this is a big issue, and as I said, I'm sorry that we don't have an episode of Comic Class today, but sometimes you just need to talk about the future of, you know, the world that you've been living in. And as I said, this is one of those issues that pretty much everyone is in agreement on. So I know that my little tiny rinky-dink channel is not going to really add much by coming in here and doing this when so many other bigger YouTubers have been doing this all along. But yeah, man, I couldn't sit back and just do nothing. I had to go out there and let my voice be heard. So yeah, sorry that we did not have a normal episode of Comic Class today, but later this week we're going to return to our normal schedule. I will be making another episode of Comic Class to kind of make up for not having one today. But yeah, as I said, this is one of those issues that it's going to affect everyone, and nobody wants this. And I just had to come in here and try and make my own last minute push to try and help with this. So thank you guys very much for listening to this, and come back next time. Bye.